Mr. Palast is in the queue again. Once again, guys, it is my privilege, my pleasure to introduce to you an investigative journalist and author, Greg Palast. I've already went through giving you a glowing introduction, Greg. I just want to bring you in because people are chomping at the bit. They think I'm lying when I say you're going to be on the show. So let me just bring you in at this point, sir. Give it up for Greg Palast, guys.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks for the applause that I hear coming through Radioland. This is Greg Palast reporting now for Rolling Stone. So what do you need to know? Just the facts, ma'am.
Just the facts, man. Man, well, thank you for being here, Greg, man. You got a lot of fans, brother. People are really hyped up about this opportunity to have conversation with you, especially considering your background is like perfect for all of the Bernie crew. I got a lot of Bernie supporters, Greg. So, first of all, man, how are you doing, and what state are you in?
Well, I happen to be in Hollywood, California at this moment because I'm finishing a film of my bestsellers called The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, A Tale of Billionaires and Ballot Bandits. And it is about the big bad billionaires, most of whom you've never heard of these guys, but they are funding the latest attack on voters of color to wipe voters of color off the voter rolls. And it's back to the same horrible games, but with new twists involving computers and lots of money.
Wow!
And that's what I'm working on right now for Rolling Stone and for my film.
Wow, man! Give it up for Greg, guys. I saw your trailer when we were in Philly. But I had a mishap and I was unable to go actually see the screening of the film, man. But I heard great things about it. Could you tell us a little bit about the film, if you don't mind?
Yes. Okay. The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. You get more information and see the trailer yourself at gregpalast.com. But what it's about is I'm on the hunt. This is actually like real live detective story. It's a true detective story, and I'm filming it while I'm doing it. I'm on the hunt for the guys who are basically have targeted 1 million Black, Hispanic, and Asian American voters to wipe them off the voter rolls by this November. So this is something it's a crime of vote theft, it's a crime that's happening in progress right now. So what I do is I go and I'm looking for this black list that the Republican voting officials have come up with. Names of, and it turns out there's 7 million names on this list in the U.S. 7 million people are targeted to have their votes removed. The overwhelming majority are voters of color. In fact, there are 29 states controlled by Republicans. 1 in 7 black voters is on this list for removal. So I start hunting this story down. I get the list, which is supposed to be confidential, but I'm an investigative reporter, so what I do is I get the list. Then I go through the list and start, okay, so who are these nasty double voters? And I go meet some of the people like there's this guy, Donald Webster. Okay, his middle name, he's Donald Alexander Webster. He's supposed to have voted a second time using the name Donald Earl Webster. But, he says, where does that come from?
Right.
And, so what they're doing is they're accusing black people of voting twice and Hispanics of voting twice. And you just heard last week, Donald Trump picked this up. Donald Trump was saying last week that there are people voting multiple times, many times. What people? And that the election is going to be stolen. What people? Well, we know from his henchmen,
right,
is that these are black and Asian Americans, and Asian Americans, people don't think much about their vote. They're the big new rising group, and they vote 75% Democratic.
Wow.
And Hispanics 71%, and obviously African Americans I would say normally 92%, but the recent poll in Pennsylvania put Donald Trump as getting 0% black vote. 0%. This is like a new one. 0%. How do you even get 0%? Donald Duck would get 4%. Dracula would get 3%. How do you get 0? 0. I've never heard of it. My whole life, I've never heard of this. A candidate getting 0. 0%. So obviously,
Wow.
obviously there's a bit of distrust between the black community and Mr. Trump. And so the way he's solving that problem is, instead of saying, well, let me try to win your vote and walk back some of the things I've said.
Mm-hmm.
And he said black people are lazy.
Right.
And so, well, he better hope they are, because otherwise they're marching to the polls and going to burn his behind. And so he better hope they're lazy. But anyway, so their real game is to knock off black voters. And the trick is, they're saying that black people vote twice and Hispanic vote twice. So let me give you an example. There are 866 people in Ohio that they've said have voted twice and they're named James Brown. Okay, so they're saying that so literally, I can't make this up. They're saying James Brown, a guy named James Brown, votes in Ohio, and they said, oh my God, a guy named James Brown voted in Alaska. So they must be the same guy voting twice.
Oh my, hold on.
I'm not making this up, man. You think no one can get it, and that's why they kept the list secret, because it's so stupid that anyone looking at the list would say, this is ridiculous, this is insane, this is a crime. They're committing the crime, not the double voters. So Trump runs around talking about multiple voters, but it's not just Trump. It's these GOP, these Republican secretaries of state. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, there are Democratic Party functionaries who we know manipulate votes, jack around with the votes, play all kinds of games. You saw what they did to Bernie in California.
Right.
So, both parties do it, but the truth is that the Republicans are much better at it, and they have a true racist target, and that makes it, by the way, quite illegal. The U.S. Supreme Court put a knife in the Voting Rights Act, the Martin Luther King's Act from 1965. They put a knife in the Voting Rights Act.
Right.
That allowed all this stuff to go forward, but still, the Voting Rights Act is still there, which people have to understand. It's still there. Mm-hmm. So these people are committing a crime, but it used to be easier to catch them, because until the Supreme Court tore its guts out, under the Voting Rights Act, there were a lot of states like Alabama and Arizona, and by the way, New York, that had to what they call pre-clear any changes in voting systems.
Well, Greg, let me interrupt you for 1 second, man. I'm trying to wrap it still sounds crazy. So what you're saying, Greg, is they're suggesting that people are running from state to state, the same guy voting 86 times in different states, not one place.
Yeah. Not in one place. Not in one place. Yeah, you have to understand that these votes are in different states. So when Trump says someone's voting 10 times, he means that they're voting 10 times in 10 states.
You know how much work that is? How much work that would be?
That's a lot of
frequent flyer miles. That's a lot of travel.
Especially for people that he calls lazy. So I guess, so he says black people are lazy, but if they're voting, one guy votes in 10 states in a single day, I wouldn't call that lazy. That's pretty darn exhausting. Yeah. But, they're all named James Brown. But then the last names don't match. There's junior and senior. He's got fathers and sons who are supposed to be the same people. But the trouble is, this thing is really happening. They're really removing voters. No kidding. And Virginia, which is a swing state, has already removed 41,000 voters from the voter rolls based on this list. And I mean, I couldn't make this up. So I'm investigating this in the film. And then I go back and find out who are the rich guys who are funding this. Because when you're wiping out voters, it costs money. So who's paying for this? And so then I go find the billionaires who are behind this stuff.
That's man, it's remarkable. How long did it take for you to before you? Because I saw this was a book. You wrote the book when? 2014. Did you finish?
Yeah, I started writing. So I've been on this investigation for 2 years.
Okay, that's what I said. Okay.
2 years. And yes, there will be a book coming out, an update of my old book, but it's going to be updated on my bestseller. It's called The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, A Tale of Billionaires and Ballot Bandits. That'll be out in about 6 weeks, and the film will be out in about a month. And so, and then hopefully we're going to make sure that people, if there's no local theater playing it for you, we will make sure that we have it so you can download it and have organizations join in. We got Voter Latino behind us. We got Operation Rainbow Push. We got the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, 18 Million Rising, which is the Asian American group. So we're trying to get, we're trying to do a grassroots distribution. And that's what we need. So, and if people want information on all that, where it's going to be, et cetera, go to gregpalast.com. And the thing about the film, it's not like PBS. It won't put you to sleep. It's not a good for you film. It's a real live investigation, and you get to follow it. And then there's cartoons.
Wow.
We have the guy Who Framed Roger Rabbit did cartoons for us. We have all these videos. We have undercover jumps. We have cool stuff, and we have the lovely Miss Badpenny in there.
Yeah.
She even appears for a few seconds in a bikini. So that's worth the film.
That's worth it.
And yeah,
I can attest, guys. It did look very good. I saw it live. The trailer looked very splashy, very interesting, man.
Yeah, the whole thing stays splashy through the whole thing. So it's a lot of, even though it's a story of stealing your vote, and it's terrible in many ways, most of it is a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. I mean, a lot of people, get burst into tears actually in parts of it. Some of it's pretty sad, and some of it, and we go back. By the way, the film takes also back to Selma, Alabama, where the Voting Rights Act began, where Dr. King led thousands of people over the Pettus Bridge in Selma and got to Montgomery. And along the way, 4 people were murdered by the Klan. And by the end of it, we had a Voting Rights Act. But now the Supreme Court is just basically cut its guts out.
Right.
And so now we got to kind of start again. So we're down there. I'm down there investigating because in Selma, Alabama, the state senator, whose name is Sanders, by the way, Senator Hank Sanders, an African American who marched with King 50 years ago. Anyway, he's the state senator representing Selma, and they took his name off the voter rolls.
What?
So if they can take a state senator off the voter rolls, they can go after anyone. So I'm down there investigating, and it's like, hey, why am I in Selma, Alabama, investigating vote theft? This is Selma, Alabama, where we thought we'd ended this story 50 years ago. Why are we still talking about suppressing the black vote in America? Why is that happening? And so it's a story busting open the whole thing. And then you get to meet all these billionaires. I go to we use drones to go over their estates. And so we have a lot of these cool drone shots.
Yeah.
So a lot of fun. And then we have, and then I go take a speedboat and go to a Hamptons bash,
Nice.
$1,000 plate bash. And I get in there, and then I confront one of these billionaires, the guy who's now the big funder for Donald Trump. His name is J.P. Paulson, J.P. Paulson, and he, so he's the big money behind Trump now. So I go and confront this guy about basically the money he's stolen, billions he's stolen from the public, and he tries to weasel out of it, but I guess he doesn't care. But then he's funding Trump, and worse, he and his buddies are funding this, vote snatching system, because they know if everyone votes,
right,
the 1% can't keep winning elections if everyone votes. They're only 1%. And they can fool a lot of people. They can fool a lot of people with, we're going to build a wall, and we're going to, all this racist stuff, and we're going to go beat up Muslims and blah, 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 right? Which is baloney. I mean, first of all, Trump's casinos would implode if he said people from the Mideast couldn't go to his casinos. I mean, Mar-a-Lago, it's like, is he kidding me? And so he knows it's a joke. It's just to play to the morons that will buy this stuff. These are people that go to his casinos and give up their paychecks, and they think they've had fun, right? They turn over all their paycheck at Trump casinos, and they walk out with a smile on their face. I mean, so these people are used to being fleeced by this guy, right?
Right.
And, as long as there's enough tinsel and enough baloney, and it's not, look, I'm not even, let me tell you right now, I'm not for Hillary Clinton being anything except a prisoner. But the truth is, but this is not about Hillary or Trump or any of that stuff. This is about, American civil rights, that we're still going after voters of color. And here's the real story. No one wants to listen to this, but I'm going to make it so entertaining that you can't take your eyes off it.
Yeah, I saw that you had it labeled. I think it was a little clip. It said, like a Jim Crow. It's like a flashback to Jim Crow where they were
Yes,
denying voting access rights for people of color, man. And
that's right.
I mean, Greg, what would it take for us to have our elections ruled as being fraudulent? Like all the news I get, the election with the Election USA, the reports they've done, like what would it take for us to kind of admit it? You think in the mainstream era, to say,
Well, that's impossible. I mean, for those who don't know me, this is Greg Palast, by the way. If you don't know me, I've been a reporter until recently overseas. I work for BBC Television and the Guardian newspapers. And, in the rest of the world, they're quite sure that American elections are stolen because we don't let a lot of voters of color vote. And it's getting worse after the Voting Rights Act was mushed. So I can report that overseas, but here you can't. Here, if you say something, they call you conspiracy nut or whatever, and I'm, so they ruin you. They go after you. So I'm hoping now to sneak in through Rolling Stone magazine. And then, if I can sneak a film into the theaters, maybe we'll get the word out. But the mainstream press in the U.S., I mean, the Washington Post just attacked me, ran 2 stories attacking me. It's like, are you guys kidding? I mean, I was working with Al Jazeera, until they went terrorist TV, right? And so I was working for Al Jazeera, and the New York Times ran a whole story about how brilliant my reporting was. But the minute I start questioning U.S. elections, then suddenly I'm not so brilliant anymore.
That's right.
So there's certain topics which are taboo in the American press, and one is to say, we celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday, so shut up.
Right. We've done enough here. Nothing else to see. We're all good.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Just you got your birthday. You got a black president, more or less, and so just shut up. And well, not if you don't get the right to vote, you don't shut up. But
right.
And so they don't like me because I'm telling a story they don't want to hear. But I hope you want to hear it.
Yeah, we definitely want to hear it. In fact, it's something I get emails about every day, Greg. People saying, Tim, you need to talk about this more, talk about it. I've talked about it, but I don't feel like I'm really the vehicle for it because I'm just, it's like you need to really get into the detailed analysis of the exit polls and all that information. I'm more of I'm a broad stroke kind of guy, but it's great having someone like you on the show who actually has the details that fill out to give more context.
And I want to mention I have a hell of a staff that does that. Lenny Badpenny and the whole Z.D. Roberts, and I have a whole staff of people who run out and investigate. I mean, I run the team, but it takes a lot of people to do this stuff. And that's the other thing is that American reporters are lazy. I'm sorry, they are. They're just lazy. And they don't want to spend the hours and hours and weeks to cover a story. It took me 2 years to work on this. They want to just write press releases. Oh, Trump said poopy. Trump said this. Trump said that. Oh, Hillary is wearing white pants.
Right.
They made a big deal. I mean, what kind of reporters is telling us what color pants Hillary is wearing? I don't care. I don't care if she doesn't wear any pants, okay? It doesn't matter to me. What is, how about let's talk about what's really going down?
Right.
But that won't happen. They don't, they said, Trump appointed these billionaires to be his economic advisors. That just shows that he's now trying to be reasonable. These guys are all sharks, monsters, fraudsters, creeps.
What about this guy?
I mean,
Paulson?
in a way, he's this guy that he used to say these guys are just, they're gamblers who get tax breaks. And now they're supposed to be his great economic advisors. They're buying their positions. If he becomes president, they're buying their cabinet posts. But of course, that happens under the Democrats too. Penny Pritzker is our Secretary of Commerce, and there's only one reason why she's there. She's a billionaireess, and she was like the biggest, ran Obama's fundraising. So that's how she became Secretary of the Treasury of the Commerce. And so it's like, it's the government for sale. And that's sick. But I got to tell you, it's going to get a whole lot sicker if we don't stop the wholesale theft of votes. And see, it's gotten worse. People have to understand. they say, oh, well, Obama got elected, so there's not voter fraud. No, there is. They're stealing your votes. It's just that he was able to overwhelm it. Plus, there's something else. He was reelected in 2012. It was in 2013 that the Voting Rights Act was chopped to pieces. So this is the first presidential election without the full Voting Rights Act. So look out. And the U.S. Senate is up for grabs, too. And these guys are going to grab it. Not by voting.
So, Greg, looking at like all the information that we've been covering here has been focused on the primary election on the Democrat side. Are you saying there's also been some rigging or some inconsistencies on the Republican side that we haven't paid attention to?
Well, they don't have to. I mean, as we know, 4 years ago they stole Iowa from Rick Santorum, but I can't cry over that.
No.
But no, they're getting the Republicans interested in the general election. Democrats steal from each other in primaries. Republicans steal in the general elections, and that's the big difference. So Democrats steal from each other. Republicans steal from voters of color because mainly it's not even that they're racist. It's just that they may be racist, but the main thing is they don't like the color of black people's votes or Asian American votes, which are Democratic.
Since they so consistently vote Democratic, that's the group you want to go after, pretty much ensuring you're not hurting yourself. You're hurting the Democrats when you go after black folks. By and large. I get it.
So what's happened is they know what they're doing, and so it's like I say, Trump has a choice. He can stop mouthing off, so that he's literally down to 0% of the black vote. I've never seen that in my whole career, 0%. Or he can just say, well, let's just get rid of the black voters, which is what they're doing. That's the crime, and no one is covering it, unfortunately, except me. You'll see my article in Rolling Stone in a couple of weeks. You'll see my film in about 3-4 weeks. You'll see my book in 4 or 5 weeks. So go to gregpalast.com and get the info, and we'll download some of the stories, pieces of the film. Watch the trailer; it's a lot of fun, as you can attest. And the film is enjoyable, but it's horrific at the same time. So because it's telling you a terrifying story.
I'm definitely going to check it out.
I just like to be entertaining because I wouldn't go to a film no matter how good the message. I wouldn't go unless it were entertaining. So I want something that's as entertaining as, in fact, we've got people to help make it entertaining. Like some people see the Divergent series. Shailene Woodley's in it. Rosario Dawson's in it. Willie Nelson. We got a lot of people in there that are doing Nelson. Like Ice-T is in there.
Wow, brother, you got a star-studded cast working with you on this.
Yeah.
Thing.
And so what I do is I go into kind of dream scenes because I have an excuse to bring in these movie stars like Ice-T, and which is fun because I'm doing my detective work and I'm stumped. So I fall asleep at a bar, and Ice-T and Detective Munch, Richard Belzer from Law and Order, they come out to help me crack the case.
This is great. This is interesting. Yeah, this is very interesting. I'm going to have to watch it because I know you're going to have a screening in D.C. I think I saw that you're going to have it.
Absolutely. We'll have a screening in D.C. We're going to have a big blowout there. Okay, so I'll catch you there. I got to go because I have to now go make more trouble.
All right, well, look, guys, go check out Greg Palast. Check him out at gregpalast.com. You get more information on the actual movie that's coming out, the book, and you also check him out in Rolling Stone magazine for information on election rigging. And thank you, Greg, for spending some time with us, man. I appreciate it.
You're the best. Thanks a lot. Bye.
You got it, bro. Wow. Okay, guys. Very interesting. Very interesting. Shine a little bit of light on some interesting issues concerning voting. Didn't know it was going to that extent. And I guess I'm a newbie in a way because primaries, the actual primaries, you said primaries are stolen by Democrats steal from one another, Republicans steal the general. It's kind of disheartening, don't you think? Let me get some calls in here. Let me get some people to bring them on the show and find out what they think about this, about what Mr. Palast had to say, and also about this subject at all. Yeah, let's do that.